good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending where you are in the world. This is Norman Kochnek with yet another Eyes on Cricket hat with two lovely guests. I have to say they're a bit better looking than me, but we don't want to pump them up too high. Both Gautam Bhattacharya and obviously Siddharth Viswanathan, they're both two esteemed gentlemen from India, eloquent, articulate, polished. What more can I say? They're a pleasure to have on my show. I'm very much proud to have you both. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Norman. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for having me.
We've had a great session over the week. This is the crescendo of crescendos today. We could see some drama. People are banking on the fact it's going to be a draw. We're going to have a shared series. The mace will be somehow cut with a knife down the middle. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Are they going to have two? Are they going to have it in one country for 6 months and 6 months? I don't know what's going to happen, really. But let's hope that doesn't happen. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the risk levels taken by both Coley and Williamson were sufficient enough that a side actually won today? That would be superb. They're saying odds of 70% on draw, 20% on New Zealand and 10% on India. But that could backflip very quickly, couldn't it? We don't really know. Wickets could fall left, right and centre. And we know that's possible. I'm very optimistic for an Indian victory. I know many people are saying, no, Norman, you can't be that optimistic. Well, why not? I hope that Coley, Punt, Rahane, Pujara, they all go in with an attitude that they're going to win this match. From the moment they step on the field this morning. It looks like it's clear skies. There's no interruptions. Now, how many overs will be bowled? Will it be 98? What will the amount of overs be? We'll wait and see about that. What is the maximum they can bowl, guys?
98. Yeah, 98. The total 98 overs will be played. So you at least require 50 overs to bowl out New Zealand. You know, if you're talking about an Indian victory, at least 50 overs. And then which means you will bat for 48 overs and score a decent amount of runs. But it all depends on how Kohli shapes up this morning. Because if you remember that blow yesterday, I mean, Kohli does not get a blow on his helmet like that every second day. So we will have to see whether this will have rocked his confidence, what it has done to his confidence. That is very important, I think. Because he's a mind player. He's more than a technique player. He's a mind player. You know, and so whether he withers this storm, whether he uses this to his advantage and comes back as a wounded tiger today, we will wait and see.
I always wonder whether, I mean, obviously Ravi Shastri's hand in hand with him. His motivational talks are monumental. He's an amazing person to have in the corner of Coley. But I'm also curious about Ganguly. Will he be calling and having a chat to Coley before the match? Will he be talking? Do they have that interaction? I'm assuming they do. Ganguly could be amazing. The wishes from Tendulkar, MS Dhoni. I'm sure all the Indian greats, Gavaskar in the studios, they're all going to be behind them. This is a significant day for India. Admittedly, New Zealand, we keep saying New Zealand's got the upper hand, but do they really? We can't say that conclusively at all. Now, but when Gautam was with me the last time together, and Siddharth as well, on occasion, we've seen India bat fantastically the second day, which was the first day. But then very quickly, New Zealand arrested the momentum in the next day. Then you would argue it turned back somewhat to India's favour and then kind of twisted again. To me, anything's possible today. Momentum and mental strength is the go. And if Coley has more luck this time, he doesn't get our third ball of the morning's play like he did the previous time, we could see something. Let's hope. And the injury could be, or the shock of the blow could be another aspect. Siddharth, your thoughts?
I mean, yes, we will have 98 overs today. The worst of the weather is behind us. I wish we had that worst of the weather behind us 3 days ago, so that if you look at it, if you look at the result, you just needed 3 full days. If you look at 3.5 days in reality. But if you have to look at it, India will actually be playing only 83 overs because the last 15 overs, the last 1 hour, if suppose New Zealand is in a strong position, you may not want to take that extra 1 hour or the last 15 overs. So technically, India should think that they're about 83. They're playing 83 overs today on the last day. Number one. Number two, India inadvertently, if you looked at the 2020 series, in the second innings, they collapsed pretty badly against New Zealand. They have to arrest that first. Because in both the tests, India had a slight upper hand only to let it go, be it Wellington or Hagley Oval. Similar conditions, hopefully that doesn't happen for the third time. Number 3, the scoring rate in this test match highlights the discipline that both India and New Zealand bowlers have exhibited, especially Shami, especially Ishant, especially Ashwin, Bolt, Jameson, Wagner, Southee. They have exhibited tremendous discipline. So, scoring at 3 in this last day will be incredibly crucial, so that if India want to set New Zealand a target of 240, 215, 50 overs, Dagan the carrot, ensure that they go all out for 50 overs. You might see a result. But looking at the amount of time lost, and because New Zealand took a vital 32-run lead, that will play a big role in determining the result. I would still say draw is one of the most favorable. If India collapses, only then we may have a result. Or if New Zealand collapse, whenever they chase. The collapse is crucial.
The pivotal moment of the match to me was when New Zealand was 7 for 192, I think they were. That was the moment, if India seized that moment and got rid of the end of the batting lineup, they could have seized a form of lead. That period where Southee and Jameson with Williamson pushed through that barrier was significant. Williamson's innings was magnificent for his 49. Arguably, you had Rahane scoring 49 as well, but the way he ended his innings was left on a very sour note. Galton, what's your take on that? What I've just talked about?
I was a little perplexed yesterday with Coley's bowling changes. I heard on television everyone praising him for his captaincy, and of course, first 1 hour, maybe the first session, he was good till about first 1 hour. But I still fail to understand why didn't he bring in Ashwin? After the lunch, he brought in, Bumrah from one end and Jadeja from the other. I mean, on form, Bumrah of the 3 was the least penetrative yesterday. It was one of those rare spells where Bumrah kept on bowling, he was not getting wickets. So you bring in Bumrah and you bring in Jadeja. Now you have the world's #1 off spinner in your ranks, who a day before had got rid of Latham, and he was on song. And you bring him only when New Zealand got past India's first innings total. I mean, honestly, these days, no one wants to criticize a player, especially a superstar, because a lot of it is at stake. And I was actually very, very surprised to hear that experts were praising his captaincy. Yes, to that part, where he motivates the team, he energizes the team, fair enough. Yes, of course. And, you need that kind of an influence on the field. But simultaneously, for matches like this, which calls for technical discipline, which calls for solid strategy, I think Virat Kohli at times is found wanting. If you remember, Norman, in 2004, the first test match which led India in Adelaide, he played a leg spinner. I mean, Australians had 5-6 left-handers. He played Karan Sharma, who was not hurt subsequently. Karan Sharma was not even successful in IPL. With Ashwin in his ranks, the first test match as a captain, where he was spectacular as a batsman. He scored 100 in both innings. But Virat Kohli, the strategist, at times I have felt over the years, he has been found wanting, be it team selection, be it bowling changes. And in such a crucial match, you cannot afford to make a mistake. And like you were saying, Ravi Shastri motivating, I would slightly differ here because the conditions are such. In Brisbane or in Perth, you can ask someone, go bat like a man, and he goes out and bats like a man. But here, you are calling for technical expertise. You can't just motivate someone and say that, look here, this is how she should look, deliveries outside the off stump. Either you have it or you don't have it, as was exhibited by the Indian openers. You require solid technique to survive on these conditions, and thankfully so, because it is not just a man's world. It's also a technical man's world.
Well, that's brilliantly said. Go ahead, Siddharth.
And carrying forward from Gautam's point, I mean, look at the tail of the Indian cricket team and the tail of the New Zealand cricket team. 3 wickets, 55 runs, New Zealand. India, 3 wickets, 12 runs. The bowling changes in the New Zealand team were pinpoint. I mean, yes, you had Ashwin. You could have held one end up. I mean, Jameson could have miscued one, but then he was peppered with pace. So Jameson could easily get those runs. Southee could get most of the runs. playing the pacers. Who did they struggle against? It was the spinners. Why didn't Coley get them on much quicker? When you had 192 over 7, you should have immediately introduced Ashwin and Jadeja from both ends. You didn't. 55 runs the addition. That is crucial. And yet again, India's inability to bowl the tail out in a Sena country might cost them the chance to win the championship. Might. We still don't know. Collapses, as you say, in the final day are possible. It has happened. So that gives us a bit of optimism. But yet again, Gautam is right. The right bowling changes at the right time was not initiated when it was needed the most.
And mind you, there were footpaths. What you could see sitting here from television, there were footpaths created. So should have had Ashwin.
Exactly.
No doubt.
And Bumrah, and I think the plan was upset a lot more with Bumrah not being in rhythm. That was a very, very crucial part.
And so our first session after lunch, you begin with Bumrah and Jadeja, who looked the most innocuous of the bowlers. You know, New Zealand actually wanted to play Bumrah and Jadeja, and here you are serving them on a platter. Why? I really, as a matter of fact, for quite some time I felt that Ashwin must have been injured. That is why he's not been used. And then I saw him, standing at mid-on, and I was quite surprised. And then I also saw some tweets that people were also questioning that why can't they use Ashwin? And Virat eventually brought him in. He got a wicket, but it was pretty late.
Mohammed Shami was the only one that looked injured. He was still thinking he was in the Hilton Hotel next door with the towel around him at one stage on the sideline. It was quite amusing. But that was. I guess he has a back spasm problem. I'm not sure. Look, go back to Ashwin for a moment. Let's look at the first innings and dissect it. You've said very, very aptly the way that it was mishandled by Coley. But I tell you what, today I would give Ashwin the ball and say, whenever you're ready, to start with, to finish in the middle. I don't really care. Ashwin is front and center, the bowler that can arrest this match to a victory for India. I really believe that. Whether he's got Jadeja at the other end or not, which it should be a good tandem partnership, as we know, that's the key. Let Ashwin go. Let him bowl as many overs as he needs to bowl to apply the pressure. I still think New Zealand have got an element of choking to them. They have mentally not yet got over that hurdle of winning a series of this nature for some time. That's the key. If Ashwin can play the screws onto the batters, as even if the ball's not spinning much, the accuracy and the venom and the potential of the ball moving with those foot marks, the reality is it is a huge benefit. 50 overs where 20 are bowled by Ashwin. I tell you what, I wouldn't like to be batting out there.
Exactly. I mean, Norman, look, if Coley wants to make up for that slightly tactical blunder, okay, who are New Zealand opening with? Latham and Conway. Who are they? Left-handers. Ashwin is no slouch with the new ball either.
Absolutely,
and he loves bowling to left-handers. He gets them out for breakfast. Why not open with Ashwin and Shami, two of your best bowlers? Ashwin can get the ball to skid on. Latham and Conway edge 2 down. He gets Williamson in. Williamson also falls to Ashwin. You have the game wide open totally. That might be one aspect which he may want to explore. Considering the sun is out, the pitch might dry off a bit. Considering. Why not? Ashwin can get the ball to skid on to the left-handers. You have 4 left-handers in the New Zealand team. If he can get all 4, I'm not including Wagner. Wagner is included, but he's in the tail. I don't know whether we'll get that far. But the scoring rate seems to be the only hurdle in forcing a result. Because in the whole match, the discipline with which these bowlers have bowled, it's not been more than 2.5. Today might not be any different. So if Pujara is still there, if Coley can force the pace, they'll bat for 1.5 sessions, 2 sessions. But then 1 session, is it enough? That's what I have a feeling. Even if you get Ashwin, he may get 3-4 wickets. But will it be enough to force a result? That's my only concern.
Oh, they're gonna have to put New Zealand in the back before the tea break. They can't afford any. Yeah. There's no way you'd have a chance of winning. I think the first half an hour to an hour will see a steadiness to them, but they're gonna, when the opportunity starts, they're gonna go for it as if it's a 50-over match to an extent. They'll change their mode, and I think even though the run rates have been very slow so far, I grant that, but we have to go in with a mindset to achieve more. And the man like Rishabh Pant and certainly Jadeja can do that as they bat later in the order. It's possible they can do that. It may lead to not many wickets falling. I think if India are going to win this match, they're going to be 3 or 4 down, maybe 4 down when they declare. That means those upper order batsmen are going to dominate their performance. They can't go 7 or 8 down. There's going to be 4 down for the score they need. And those batsmen have to go crazy. And
you need 200 to 250. That is the target you have to set in 45 to 40 overs, or in 50 overs, ideally. You dangle the carrot, get 50 overs, all bowlers go full tilt. You may have a result.
Are you saying 200 to 250, the total or the lead?
The lead. The lead.
Okay.
Not the total. The total 200, if they're all out for 200 minus 32, 45 to 50 overs, you get 170. I think New Zealand will go for it, if that is the case. But then again, yeah, Gautam, continue.
No, in that case, you'll have to also score very fast. You have to score more than 4 runs an over. It's not a matter of joke. Yeah, not a matter of joke. So
maybe
as I say, it would depend on Coley, how he has handled yesterday's quote-unquote humiliation of being struck by delivery like that, because it got him completely dumbfounded. I mean, of course, in international cricket, you get to see people getting stuck on helmet, but for someone like Coley, who's such a fast mover, who's such a fast thinker, it is not very usual. So whether he uses it to his advantage or he gets rattled by it, we will see this morning.
Absolutely.
How much are you going to bowl Bumrah in the second innings? How much are we going to bowl Bumrah? He's not in form. Can he turn that form around, or are they going to have him bowling in any amount, or is he going to come in short bursts? How are they going to use Bumrah, because he's simply not in form?
I would start with Shami and Ashwin. I won't even think about Bumrah. Let's start with Shami from one end, your best bowler. And there is also this belief every time the new ball is being thrown to Ishant Sharma. I don't know what is the logic behind it, because my point is, whoever is in form, it's not you're not giving away, it's not giving away a drawer or an almirah to someone and say, you keep this key. It's not that. It is based on form. On form, Shami is your best bowler. And I thought, again, India had made a huge mistake last time when they left out Shami in the all-crucial semi-final match against New Zealand. And, we lost that match, if you remember, by 18 runs. Shami had taken a hat-trick. He was in superb form, but suddenly he was asked to sit out. I hope this time they do justice to Shami, because, again, as I said yesterday, after the lunch session, it was not Shami. He should have opened the bowling, because he was the batsman who was creating a bowler who was creating havoc in the New Zealand camp. So I only hope that this time the form will be given preference and not reputation.
And carrying forward from Gautam's point, Shami is an excellent second innings bowler.
Yes.
Second or fourth innings. So I would just go, if I was Coley, the captain, I would go like this. Open with Shami and Ashwin. Have Bumrah for a 4-over burst. Let him go all out. 4 overs. Get Ishant as the second change. You don't know. I mean, New Zealand will have to cope with a lot of variation. Use that variety to effect. Coley didn't use that in that first innings. It was the stand, okay, the openers are prepared. Ishant, Bumrah, Shami. Yes, that will be the key. Shuffle the bowling. If you want, get Ashwin to open with Shami. Full about 15 to 20 overs. Have them 4-5 down. And then get Bumrah at the tail. Knock them over.
Yes.
That should be the analysis. That should be the viewpoint Coley is looking at. If they set a target in the range of 200 to 250.
Bumrah's position is crucial towards the tail end. That's when he needs to show his worth and skittle Southey, Jamieson by great Yorker deliveries, which he's capable of doing. And again, we're talking about a 50-over approach to the match. We are, but with a certain sting. I'm very confident that India will leave nothing in the tank. They're going to go for this. There's no point in going into this with an attitude towards a draw. Even Pujara has to be wary of his steadiness. He needs to also have his cut shot in mind, where he can certainly let loose. He loves his cut shot. Be been improvising in the way he plays. Maybe a few overs to start with, but then a crescendo must hit. They must be at fever pitch by the second hour. They must be full guns blazing into the first hour of the new section, and they're looking at a time to declare and throw them in.
But again, Norman, understand the situation a bit. If both sides, I mean, supposing New Zealand, if India go for an aggressive approach, it could backfire. You may very well have a situation of 97 for 7 or 100 for 9. Then you have to understand the balance between caution and aggression. Same for New Zealand. If suppose they get them out for 170, suddenly they're 5 down for 45 and trying to go for the target. You don't know. It's a final. You worked so hard for 2 years to not squander the advantage. They will have to be very, very careful. India in particular, the first session is very important, as many are saying. It will depend, as Gautam pointed out, how Coley's mindset is, because he's the only one who can take the conditions out of the equation and bat aggressively. No one else. Pant has, but whether we'll get to Pant by that time, we don't know. That's the key.
Someone needs to remind. Sorry.
So go ahead.
Someone needs to remind Pujara that boy, this is the last day of the test match. It's not beginning tomorrow. So this is the last day. Please play your shots.
Exactly. But there's something very interesting about this. Today's a game of mental pressure. And I think out of the two teams, I strongly believe India's got the better mental strength to handle this for a lot of reasons. New Zealand have this constant lack of getting across the line in a final. They certainly are worthy of being here, yes, but they have this mental block at this stage, and that'll flood back into their thoughts. If India prey on that, it could be in India's favour. There's that reason why they shouldn't be able to have that attitude. Who's got more to lose today between the two teams?
No, that's a very interesting point, Norman. Sorry. It's a very interesting point you made, that New Zealand, despite everything we saw on the very first day, their bowlers somehow choked. The batsmen also, overall, you can find that somehow they are finding it very hard to tell themselves that, look here, you're in the winning position. So there is always somewhere little bit of lack of belief. And on a very important final day, India should pounce on that and rest the advantage and say, look here, first 4 days may have been yours, but today, all crucial day, I'm going to take it away.
I believe India should approach it as if India's got nothing to lose. We've got nothing to lose. We're not expected to win today. So let's give it a red hot crack. If India go with that attitude, they'll be more opportunist and take chances more readily because they're not expecting to win. Or people around them are not expecting to win. As in the crowd, the commentators are all saying, it'll be a draw or New Zealand should win. Let's have them think that, because that's going to play into India's hands. Go back to the Gabba. We all thought India had no hope in hell of scoring 320 runs. And mentally, India had nothing to lose. Whereas New Zealand, in my opinion, have got everything to lose. They've been up for so long of late, close to winning finals and ICC championships and losing in the most disgusting way in 19. That leaves a mark. I'm sorry, it leaves a mark. And they'll be thinking, we're expected to win this. We'll certainly not lose it. And I think that you can play on that. If I were Rishabh Pant, I'd be saying, all right, guys, we're not expected to win this. New Zealand expect to win this. Let's see how they go. That mental annoyance will affect any batsman. I'm an ex-keeper myself, and I would be behind this saying, look, guys, we've got nothing to lose. New Zealand, they've got everything to lose. Boy, I would hate to be in Edmonton if they lost this match. Wouldn't it be terrible? You can be very annoying, I tell you. Being an Australian keeper in my history, I would love that role. And I truly think games have to be played on that field. There has to be a mental effort to show they're serious. Very closely knit fielding. For Ashwin, they should have a number of blokes around the bat with some positional play, but they should have a particularly aggressive opening overs. Conway, even though he's been batting well, he's due for a failure. I'm sorry. And he doesn't, when I say due for a failure, he scored 3 big scores in his first innings. His second innings haven't been as crash hot. And you've got to play on these factors. Look for every positive you can get and muster. I'm excited by that fact.
Yes, I mean, I remember a famous Indian tennis player, Norman, you may have heard of him, Ramanathan Krishnan's son, Ramesh Krishnan. And he was playing a tennis match in Sydney against some opponent. And, suddenly he saw Rod Laver near the stands and telling him something. And, he was surprised, the great Rod Laver watching the match. So he went up to Laver and Laver told him that, don't take prisoners, kill them. That's a very famous saying in Australian sport. You must be knowing, Norman. Don't take prisoners, Absolutely. Kill them. Coley did not do that last afternoon after the first session. Hopefully, he will do that today.
I'm curious about the relationship I didn't really pick up on a relationship difference, but Rahane, Rohit Sharma, and Pujara are in the senior leadership group with Coley, correct? Both in Test match and other formats. What would they have said? What would they have had? Would they have had words to Coley? Would there be a consensus, or would Coley have said that's the way? Would there have been any consensus as to who should bowl? Would there have been any discussion, or would it be Coley's decision? What do you think?
It's Kohli's decision largely, but in terms of batting strategies, I guess Rahane also comes in with inputs. So does Rohit Sharma. But in terms of the field arrangements or bowling changes, Kohli is the boss. He's the only boss.
Right. Okay. I want to spend some time. Rohit Sharma, to me, I'm going to be talking to Australians on the streets the next couple of days about how Rohit Sharma conducted himself when he was at LBW yesterday. The fact that he made no movement towards calling for a decision or review. I found that very admirable, very unselfish. A lot of Australian batsmen should be watching that very, very carefully. Shane Watson would have been like that within seconds. Most of the Australian batsmen would have been. I found that the most unselfish moment, and I tell you what, I have my respect for Rohit Sharma went through the roof then. He was very calm and collected. He realised his wicket was very important. He made a wrong decision. It was close. He would have been given that anyway, but he decided not to review it. I found that extremely admirable.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you what, the current Australian crop of players would not have done that. They would have went bang within a split second. Especially a person of Rohit Sharma's status in the team. Warner would have went bang. Shane Watson's not there, but he would have went bang. They would have known. No fear.
Kohli should learn from Rohit. Just to rile up the Kohli-Rohit debate. 17 times he has referred, 15 times he's gotten out. Even it happened in the Jameson district.
It says a lot. It says a lot. But that could, you know what? That could prove very pivotal today. That very decision not to challenge may come in their favour today, big time, when it most counts with a punt or Coley in this early part of the morning. There may be a twist there, and if they've got that available to them, they're going to thank Rohit Sharma greatly for that moment. I think that's very significant. I'm very excited about today. I hope Rahane's learned his lesson from his shot. That was a complete brain snap. That was the most half-hearted shot I've ever seen Rahane play. And they put that fieldsman in there very deliberately and very overtly. But sometimes when you do that, your mind, and I notice as a batter, it's funny when you know there's a person there, what do? You actually play it to the person. The old adage is if you see stumps, you throw the stumps, you'll hit the stumps. It's all about where your head is focused. And you say, I'm not going to do something, you're actually going to do it. Rahane was almost mesmerised into playing that pathetic shot. That was the biggest shock of that innings, I must say. I was quite disturbed by that. All right, guys. I want your final thoughts. Galton, go first. I know you've got time, not much to spare with your ability to write. Now you'll need to do that. Galton, your thoughts. Rev us up. Let's see what you got to say.
Draw, number one possibility. Number two, New Zealand win. I sadly, I don't see, I'd be happy, very, very happy, like all other Indian supporters, if India wins it, but I don't really see it. And as Siddharth pointed out, that there was a collapse in Wellington and so was in Christchurch, and I only hope that does not happen again.
I think for me, Norman, the draw would be the best result. Because let me just put it in both ways. Both teams played. Their bowling has been superb. They haven't dropped many catches. Their batting has been tested. And there has not been any claims that, one team has the upper edge, other team. No, it's been a seesaw contest. Only if the rain had stayed away for 2 days, we would have had a result today. If it would have been the fourth day, we would have had a result. But draw, certainly. India have to draw the line between caution and aggression, and the first session will dictate that. If they are scoring very slowly, then India are playing for the draw. Simple. Hope I see New Zealand win. Hope. It's been 21 years. Let them win for once. Because believe it or not, in the battle of David versus Goliath, you want David to win. When it comes to India versus New Zealand, the Goliath is India. You would want David to win for once. But yes, if India do those innovative changes, Ashwin, open with Ashwin, go with Shami, go with Bumrah at short pace, you can do it. It is not impossible. It will be difficult, but not impossible if India win. If India win, no surprises, honestly.
Okay. I've heard you both, learned gentlemen, of what you have said. But my little crystal ball here has been percolating away. And my crystal ball is seeing something extraordinary. Not Gabba-esque, perhaps, but Hampton-esque. I feel we might see something a little bit startling. I'm predicting Ashwin will scare the living daylights out of New Zealand. New Zealand will have the wobbles. They may still get to a draw, but they're going to have some severe wobbles. They're going to have some mini collapses go ahead. And that's my thoughts.
Norman, just to stretch on that, okay. The ideal example or the ideal thing that you can do for India in this case is go back to the 2016 Melbourne test between Australia and Pakistan. 2.5 days were rained out. But Australia needed just one session to bowl out Pakistan. Pakistan, they had that mental block. Oh, can we win in Australia? Can we do it? No. They collapsed. Perhaps India can exploit that ICC weakness in the New Zealand cricket team. And who knows, they will need one session to just go at it. You don't know.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to remind them as they're walking past. And when was the last time? Oh, that's right. You lost that match in 19. Oh, and you lost that match that year. Oh, you're Australia, but you're there. Oh, when did that happen? Oh, I forgot about that one. You lose that too. Oh my God, how many have you lost? I'd be saying that very casually when I'm walking past. It would annoy me. It's a very, girls, am I being too cheeky there? A punt would love to say, so let me think, 17, 19, blah, 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 lost, tie but lost, lost. Oh my heavens, what do you do in that situation? Could be very cheeky of me. I maintain that you guys are probably right, but let's have some fun with it.
Yes.
Guys, it's been wonderful having you on the show, both of you. Have you got any other final thoughts? Oh, we have a little eye on the next series, which I'm both going to get you back for, of course. India versus England, that's going to be romantic at the best of time. That's going to be magnificent. There, India will be able to exploit their strengths and bring in the likes of Siraj or express their batting ball with Gill and the likes of Rohit Sharma having long innings. I'm excited by that. I think Rohit Sharma, to me, in this test has shown me a glimmer of hope that he will bat very well in the next series. He's distinct, and as you said, Goal on the first day, the way they approached the deliveries, went down the wicket, showed a lot of risk in their batting, but a lot of calculated risk. If they had that mental approach into the next test series, heaven help England. Except for Ben Stokes, England will be very wobbly. Last thoughts, guys. Give me a sentence or a word, something that can inspire. If Ravi Shastri happens to be looking at my YouTube channel, you never know. What would be something say? What could you say?
No, but I would just say that next time you hold a World Championship final, please, ICC, please make sure that it's played on a level playing ground. This is not level playing ground. One team plays 17 test matches to qualify for the finals. The other plays 11 to qualify for the finals. One team does not even get to play one practice match in England, the venue of the final. The other team arrives early, play 2 test matches. What kind of a level playing ground is this? Whoever wins, this is not the way you should approach a world level final. Nowhere does it happen.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right.
Every team, if you look at every competition in the world, what is the most common thing? The number of matches, which are equal.
Yeah.
New Zealand didn't even play. They played only 1 3-test series. Only one in the entire cycle. They only played 2 tests. Their series against Bangladesh was cancelled because of the COVID situation. The only 5-test series in that period was the Ashes. And it is the Ashes, ironically, which will be the first impediment to ensuring that the number of matches are equal. Let me tell you that. Because every team needs to play a 3-test or a 2-test, but you cannot expect the Ashes to be a 3-test or a 5-test series. Come on, unless it is out of the cycle. Only then there might be some equality when it comes to it.
Or you could have 2 of the 5 tests not count to the actual championship.
That destroys the novelty of the Ashes. I mean, it's a 144-year tournament. I mean, it's a rivalry that has spanned over a century. It might destroy the novelty of it.
Norman, with your permission, may I excuse? Can I excuse myself?
Of course.
Same
Carlson,
here, Norman.
It was
welcome
wonderful
to stay as
chatting
long
with
as
you
you
and
want.
Siddharth. It was
Same here,
wonderful.
Gautam. Same here, same here.
All the best for today. All the best for today. Keep your fingers crossed.
Yes. Yes.
And toes.
We will. Yes.
Go Black
Thank you,
Caps. Go Black Caps.
Very,
I've already been accused of a traitor in the comments, so that's okay.
can I be honest with you, Gautam? Gautam is someone who's very special. Siddharth, you being with him only added to it. We had David Graveney, which was a sensational pairing. You two together was a musician's effort, both of you. I love it. Fantastic.
Thank
That was
you.
riveting. That was fantastic. I love that. I love that. Siddharth, you can hold your own. You know that. You're with someone very special. You know, Gautam's an eloquent person. He's
one of the best journalists that we have in India.
Oh, by far. And he's very humble about it too. He doesn't necessarily let people know that he is that. And that's a wonderful trait. He's a magnificent man. I've really enjoyed the time when he's come to Australia. But
Indeed.
okay, Siddharth, am I being farcical? Am I being ridiculous to say India can win? Is it that ridiculous?
Absolutely not. I told you the example of the 2016 match, Australia-Pakistan, MCG. 2 days washed out by rain. It just needs one session. And looking at the ICC success, India are far, far more better than New Zealand mentally. So if you can set a target of even say 170, 200, supposing. I mean, in England, in the fourth innings, you saw in Edgbaston and in Southampton in 2018, teams couldn't even chase 180. They collapsed. India collapsed. New Zealand can collapse. Only if India plays tactically well.
Let's not forget when India got all out for 36. That could happen in New Zealand too, just as quickly as
Can happen. Yep. But I think you've got a very solid man in Kane Williamson. I don't think he gets rattled easily.
That's the difference.
He's the Iceman. Look, I mean, everybody was criticizing Pujara's slow thing and they were praising Williamson. I just don't get the point. You play according to your own strength. Pujara plays according to his own strength. What's wrong in it? His contributions in the World Test Championship cycle, you may argue, oh, an average of 29. But boss, he was the prime factor for us winning in Australia. He need not score fancy centuries or fancy 50s, but he wears the opposition down. End of story.
Do you think they're going to play such a game with a longer period of extra days? Will they go to 2? Will they make it mandatory to have 450 overs in the match, no matter how long it takes? Will they do something like that? Why not?
I don't think so. Because, again, there are a lot of broadcasting obligations. There are a lot of other things as well. There is schedule and all these kind of logistics. Whether a ground can last, the pitch will last for that long, we don't know. Ideally, in an ideal world, if there was no quarantine and if the series against England could have been postponed after the World Test Championship, that would have been the ideal playing ground. Like what Gautam was stressing, the ideal playing ground should have been, okay, you have a 1 month break, New Zealand, play your tests after the World Test Championship ends. Shouldn't that have been the ideal playing ground? But I don't know why there is so much rigidity when in the coronavirus times, you can cancel series left, right, and center. You can shift the goalpost, but you can't reschedule a series. And the joke of it is, it is not even part of the championship cycle. Look at the ICC's warp priorities. I mean, okay, on day 3, and even on day 3, when there was a bad light delay, 1 hour or even 1.5 hours, couldn't you have played with the pink ball? The whole equation would have changed. The whole equation would have been changed. But again, innovation. Sometimes when we are so steeped into a game, we don't have innovation. The ICC can't even think about innovation. Let's hope they do it in the second cycle. Play equal games, as he said, play equal number of games. Ensure that you play in a level playing ground, no warm-ups, no tests prior to the final. You all have a 1 month break, come to the final, then no matches. Test your mettle. Points to ponder. Small points, but very significant points.
Is there any suggestion here the ICC favoured New Zealand ever so slightly? Is there any suggestion like that? Are they feeling sorry for New Zealand?
We are saying, we accuse the International Cricket Council of being the Indian Cricket Council. So I don't think that
I'm joking. I'm having some
that's
fun.
not the case.
I'm having
That's
some
not
fun.
the
I'm having
case.
some
Yeah.
fun. But the reality is, it's still been a great match despite the stoppages. There's been a lot of intriguing play. I've enjoyed it immensely, and today is the literal crescendo.
Yep.
We want to see a result. I would like to see India go down all guns blazing and New Zealand win. If that's the case, as long as India put up a big fight and make it difficult for New Zealand and make them wobble through the day, then we've got a result. And I don't think anybody will be disappointed if India lose this. They won't be necessarily disappointed because if they've gone in with the right spirit under the conditions, they'll have some moral victory there.
I think India will be crushed if they don't win this. I mean, if they lose this, rather. If they lose this, they'll be crushed. I do not agree with the point that they will not be. They'll chuck it off and play well against England. No. An ICC event is an ICC event, period. If India wins, they'll be the only country in the world to have won all 4 ICC events. No other team has ever done that. That is the price that you pay for. Then India will be the unprecedented superpower of cricket in the true sense. You have these two at stake.
It's intriguing. I'm excited. First of all, we don't know yet, but it looks as though the weather's been very clear. I've heard nothing, but I think Munchie sent me a report saying there's less than 5% chance of rain, which is virtually no chance.
There is no chance of rain. There is sunshine. That's where the added dimension of the pitch will change. Maybe there'll be no moisture. It might flatten out. So we don't know how that will be. The first session is crucial. There is the worst of the weather ended on day 4. On June 21st. From 22nd till 25th, there is absolutely clear weather. From 26th onwards, the weather once again turns turtle.
I've just seen a comment here a minute ago, which everyone's saying draw. Nobody's wanting to say New Zealand, but they're saying draw, which I will accept. But there was one comment about the ground that the women's match. Is this right? Bahram Irani has said, guess what? For the England-Indian women's match, the pitch was used with an old pitch. Just a week ago, a county T20 match was played on it, completely against ICC rules.
Absolutely. Yeah, Bahram's right. It was a disgrace. You've now, the ECB, along with the BCCI, have also shown where does women's cricket rank in priority. Could you have imagined, if this wicket was scuffed up, the World Test Championship wicket at Rose Bowl was scuffed up, everybody would have raised a storm. There would have been a controversy. The ICC would have been lambasted. What did you hear from that match? 0. Just an apology. The ECB apologized. The women's team cricket captain, Heather Knight, she blasted the ECB, rightfully. But yet again, priority. Look at the priority. That test match was also riveting. The India-England women's match. Shefali Verma, Sneh Rana and all others chipped in and the match ended in a draw. So India have not lost in England for the last 15 years, if you have to look at it. Where is that hidden in the smaller print? And that too after you've not played test cricket for more than a year. 7 years. You've not played test cricket for 7 years. England at least played the women's Ashes 2 times. Still.
Well, I hope this now is a continuation of these matches. I hope we see test matches with women's cricket explore. I know Hassan Tilakarana, who's now the Sri Lankan women's coach, ex-player himself, has gone all guns blazing. He's got their fitness levels up. I mean, I was talking to Nalakshi De Silva today, who was a part of the Sri Lankan makeup. It sounds superb what he's doing. He's a far cry better than their previous coach, and I'm very happy for Sri Lankan women. Hopefully they'll have a great tournament. And Siddharth, okay, Siddharth, thank you again for your time. It's wonderful. If you've got time in the next few days, we'll welcome you back. Your predictions are always sound. Pleasure to have you, an honor to have you on, Siddharth. Namaste.
Thanks, Norman. Thanks. Let's hope for a riveting day's play today.
Thank you again.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We were certainly blessed for that first half an hour, weren't we? We had 2 extremely pressing players as journalists, senior journalists, probably some of the most polished interviewers in the country. Gautam Bhattacharya has written many a book. He's got great, insightful discussions on yesteryear and current year. He's always on the money. Magnificent man. I'm very blessed now. This is the second time I've had him on the show. And Siddharth, who's a doyen of cricket as well from Bhopal. He is a magnificent writer, great orator, would make a great commentator for Star Sports. Look, heads up Star Sports. You've got a man right there who'd be very much quality. I think we need to take note of those players, not just simply have ex-test cricketers who talk not as well. You've got to start to use journalists who are excellent at their craft and have the eloquence and the ability to talk about cricket at all levels. There's two right there. Very lucky for them both to be on my show, and my hats go off to them both. It's been a brilliant effort. Cricket administration is not democratic like other sports. Yeah, that's a fair point. Living in Syria is better than living in... Okay, right. Well, that's not really irrelevant. I want to bring that up. I won't. Norman, it's going to be a draw. Mano John, there's a certain somberness or sort of sadness about when you say that. The reality is that a draw will be shared. Now, at least that's a reasonable result for India. New Zealand won't be happy with that either because, let's be honest, they haven't won anything, have they? If New Zealand bats slow, they can play into the hands of the Indian bowling. Jadeja and Ashwin can tighten right up and have people around the bat. And if you're batting slowly there and you fail to get the ball off the pitch, you're liable to get a lot of wickets falling. And very quickly. Any score over 150, I believe, will be sufficient to make it very, very interesting. Do I understand Hindi? I do, and I'm not going to be just like India play to win. India has to play to win. It's extremely important that India plays to win. I've got little doubt that will be the case. Let's see who else I've got on. I've got plenty of incredible people that are available. I'll just see what their whereabouts are. I've asked quite a few on. I'll just see whether Chris Vern's around because he could bring his rather interesting perspective in. Let's just see. Are you here? I spent 3 hours on the YouTube channel this morning, and I loved it. We had an enormous number of great questions. There's some people backing up again here today. Let's have a look here. You understand? Okay. Think Ashwin is crucial today. What do you think about that? We talked quite a bit about that as well, Narayana, with both Galton and Siddharth. And to me, Ashwin is the absolute key to the Indian bowling lineup. He should open the bowling with Sharma, who's also in form. They should go at it and be on there for quite a period of time, anywhere from 10 overs up between them. They should really be there and hold firm to those two. Then you bring in maybe Bumrah for a 4 or 5 over spurt and Ishant Sharma for a 4 hour over spurt. Maybe if needed, then bring Jadeja in. But I think between the bowlers they've got, the key bowlers will be Ashwin and Sharma on this wicket. It would have perhaps been Bumrah in the past, but he's not with it today. Maybe he'll come out and bowl. He bowls a 4 or 5 over burst of incredible pace with direct Yorkers, especially towards the back end of the innings. That can become the key. If Ashwin takes 5 wickets early and with Sharma taking two wickets or so, then you'll have Bumrah with the ability to rout Southey, Bolt, and Wagner and perhaps Jamieson at the end there and really put a nail in the coffin of New Zealand, if that's the way the match is going to go. But it comes back to the very start, both Pujara and Coley going out there from the start. If they can muster a much better run rate but not lose wickets, really India need to be 4 down at a maximum when they declare to put New Zealand on the bat. And that would mean that you'd be left with Punt and Jadeja into bat, with Rahane and Pujara doing their best and Coley playing as best as he can, which we know he can bat very well. The key is, though, that Punt and Jadeja let loose at the other end while the other batter bats steady and keeps the wickets to minimal or to none. If you've got a Pujara with Punt or for that matter, a Rahane with Punt or Jadeja, and Punt is let go and can destroy, that run rate may percolate away very nicely, and you may have a very, very strong situation where India would be, very much in the ascendancy. And at the moment, technically, New Zealand are ahead. They're 2 for 64. They're effectively 2 for 32. They're technically ahead. That means that at this moment in time, New Zealand has scored 33 to win. Of course, that's not going to be the result. But the more runs New Zealand get on the bat, India get onto the board, 100 runs more makes it 132. 150 makes it 182. When you're getting above, I don't think 200 is necessarily the benchmark. 180 and above could well be enough if India bowl well. 180 all of a sudden looks very difficult to get when you're 5 for 40 on. Correct? That's when it becomes very interesting. So that's the way that this match could turn. Calm heads are telling everybody it'll be a draw first around the 70% mark. A 20% chance of New Zealand winning with 10% India. And the heart tells you that 10% could turn to 20, 30, 40, 50 very quickly if India has everything go their way. The batters bat well and bat quickly. New Zealand start to have the wobbles, as they may well do. The mental pressure is certainly there. New Zealand will win. The only way New Zealand's going to win is if India allow them to, and that won't be the case. Can we see India going for quick runs? Well, Abhinav, there's no reason why they can't. There's absolutely no reason why they can't. It's now about an hour from play, which unfortunately is not being brought early. Looking if there's any weather commitments, there's any weather maps being shown. Well, we're probably about 9 minutes from them talking live about this. The umpiring of Michael Goff, Richard Ellingworth, and TV umpire Richard Kettleborough has been exemplary. I think the match referee Chris Ward is also an exemplary one. They've got probably the best arsenal of people on deck who are all very neutral. This is test number, wait for this, this is test number 2,425. This is test number 2,425. That's a lot of tests. I haven't seen them all. Of course, I'm not that old, but I've seen a fair few. So Southie at this point has bowled 9 overs for 17. Very economic. He's taken 2 wickets as well. Trent Bowles bowled 8 for 20. Cole Jamieson's bowled 10 for 15 runs. And Wagner's bowled 3 for his 8 runs. They're not even having used de Grandhomme. I don't know whether they'll use de Grandhomme anyhow. Why Bumrah didn't get a wicket? Saeed Afzal, that's a great question. Bumrah is probably the disappointment of the match. He would have been the bowler to be the counter for Jamieson, and Ishant and Sharmi would have been for Southie and Bolt, and Wagner, well, one of the spinners perhaps you could match me against him, but Bumrah you could argue was either matched to Southie or Jamieson, and both of those bowlers for New Zealand have done exceptional. They've both taken wickets and quite steadily. Whereas in the case of Bumrah, he's got a big fat 0, which is quite disgusting, really, for a man of his quality. Do you think Rishabh Pant will be a key for India if he fires? India have a chance to win. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely possible. With him around, their chances go through the roof. Absolutely go through the roof. Absolutely go through the roof. Let's have a look here. I'm just looking at the live scenarios of what's going on. Any pictures of the events taking place. I think this is crucial. The ground looks both dry or relatively dry. Sun is out. 5% chance of rain, which means no rain. Batsmen will be free to, and bowlers will be free to do what they want. Do you think India can win? I certainly do. And the way they will do that is to bat as best they can early, not lose too many wickets, and have the ability to bring Punt and Jadeja in to really go for it towards the back end of the first session and maybe into the early part of the second session. I'd like to see a declaration no later than the middle point of the day, as if it were a 50-over match. Therefore, India can bat for around another 48 overs or thereabouts, scoring at 4 runs and over. That's almost 200. It's going to be 232. No, is that right? No, that's 40. Yeah, if it's 48 overs and they bat above 4 at 4 and over, they'll be very close to 230 or thereabouts, well past 200. And that'll make it very interesting. Very, very interesting. The starting time of the matches, it's in fact in just over an hour and 6 minutes away before the actual starting point of the match. Here's a question. Say if Coley from Akhil, if Coley stays at the crease for an hour, it'll be a different day today. India will score 180 and send New Zealand to bat. New Zealand will lose by 52 runs. That's charmed discussion. Ishmael Sharmi, who impressed you more? Quick legends, I'd say Sharmi by a country mile. He looked magnificent. And he's had previous form and previous luck on this wicket too. He's very much, Rachik Kumar, I'm not sure whether that's a name or not. Rachik Kumar, obviously, you know. Love you, India, right? That's good for him. So Sharmi, by far, has been the best bowler. Ishmael Sharma has been very admirable, though. Then you have Jadeja and Ashwin, who bowled pretty damn well too. But Bumrah's a sad fifth on that bowling list. Probably bowled the least effective of all. He bowled a bit too short, I felt. Not as accurately. Fair bit leg side. Wasn't penetrative at all. His Yorkers were rare. There were some good deliveries in there. I'm not saying there weren't. There were certainly some good deliveries. But I it wasn't his best at all. Should Bumrah just focus on white ball formats? Well, after what we're seeing here today, with Siraj in the squad and even Navdeep Saini, you've also got a whole host of other bowlers, Shardul Thakur's around, and then you've got Akshar Patel, Washington, sort of a whole host of bowlers that are around in this squad. Even Natarajan, if he's fit. Yeah, you might argue that it might be the case, but Bumrah certainly has disappointed me. This was his opportunity to shine, and he hasn't quite done so, which is quite unfortunate, I must say. Yeah, okay. What should the perfect target for New Zealand be? When you say the perfect target for New Zealand, Binay Kumar, when you say that, do you mean the perfect target in terms of the maximum that India would like to get to be able to make New Zealand have to struggle? Or is it, what do you mean? I would say around the 200 mark lead is going to make it interesting. I don't think you necessarily need more than that, because 200 in the last innings on this particular game, don't think about 214, 249. There's not going to be scores of more than 200 in this match from now on, I don't think. Really don't think. So that's the question we've got here. So Chris Vernon is playing at Oxford Uni this week. That's why he's not here. We've got a situation where I did get a message from Munchie. He actually sent me an email. I'll just read what Munchie. He did talk about whether Munchie's not here today. I can see 98 overs today is correct. 98 overs is the target. 83, that's 15 in the last over. To declare, I think that they're going to need to get around the 230 mark, which puts them 200 in front. If they're 210 in front, 210 in total, that's 180 or 190. Around that, depends on the time of the day. If they're eating into the second session, then they've got to consider that timing. For sure. Let's have a look here. Okay, Marcus Lawrence, which is Munchie. Morning, Norman. Weather update. Sorry I can't make the preview show today, but the forecast is sunny this morning, sun this morning, with a little cloud in the afternoon. Less than 5% chance of rain. Catch you soon. Regards, Munchie. Well, that says it all. We'll be playing to the death here. Coming over as well, I've mentioned 98. Around 83 leading into the last over 15. But I think 98 is what they're going to try and achieve. There must be some heavy sanctions against poor race in the match fee fines, which does hurt the likes of Coley one bit. Yeah, I don't. Is it over rates or just run rates that we're talking? Because run rates are 2.5, which is terrible. Over rates, I'm not aware of how bad they've been or how good they've been. I need to find that out. Okay. Ask questions, guys. This is about the biggest match of India's life. There's no way we're going to get 98 overs in. We're due to get 98. Yesterday, only got 81. The over rate is shocking. 10% less discount should give you into that run, including punters and ticket holders. Well, let's hope they do better today. Javid Sheikh is asking who will win today. India and New Zealand. Well, everyone's quoting that the draw is at 70-odd%, with New Zealand at 20% and India at 10%. That's a fair summation to start with. By the end of the first session, that could well be 50 for draw, 40 for India and 10 for New Zealand if India have taken the ascendancy, or other way around. We don't know. How many runs will Coley score? Well, Coley, what is he now? He's currently, how many runs is Coley? Coley is 8 off 12 balls without anything for it. Pujara's on 12 from 55. He scored 2 fours. Pujara yet again has occupied one end. So Virat Kohli, 8. Can he turn it into 108? It would be a miracle. If he gets 58, they're on the right track. If he gets 58, okay, let's go. If he goes from 8 and scores 50 today, and then Punt and the like take over, we could see a reasonable score. Let's hope. Let's just hope. So I have previewed this as day 6. Might be asking questions as to how that's possible. Yes, in fact, we've had 6 days of potential play. Now, people have been saying the ICC haven't given in, they've picked their own location, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is they've already allowed an extra day's play, which test matches don't normally get at all. So on that basis, that's already a winner. So effectively, we've lost close to 2 days, which means we'll have a total of 4 days play. Now, we've had 2, 3. We had Friday off, Saturday, Sunday on, Monday off, Tuesday on. So we effectively had 3 days of play already out of the potential 5. Now we're going 4 and a potential 6. A lot of matches have been won in 4 days, guys. A lot of matches have been won in 4 days. So let's not discount that. Rahane a century. Well, if Rahane gets a century, it'll want to be pretty bloody fast because if he bats slowly, it's not going to be much use to us. How many overs? They're saying 48. India need to give New Zealand 50 overs to go for the 200. So to do that, they need to score 230 odd in the balance of some 48 overs if we go 98, which is what we're saying they will go, which is the big call for sure. Okay, can Rishabh Pant score 50 from 20 balls though? Why not? Why not? He might score 100 from 30. Who knows? Breaking news today, New Zealand win. Well, or is it, there's a comment there. Breaking news, New Zealand win now. It can't be breaking news because it hasn't happened yet. So Punt can be the next day today if India wants to go for the kill. And I think they should. Cricket in blood, I would argue that's the way we should play. What role do you see now for Ashwin at this innings? Ashwin will Galton and Siddharth and myself, we came to the conclusion that the bowling lineup for New Zealand, against New Zealand, for the Indians will be Sharmi bowling at his best, which he's done in the last innings, coupled with Ashwin bowling at his best. Then the change will be that perhaps the likes of Sharmi will be replaced by Bumrah, who comes in a 4 or 5 over spell, and then Ishant Sharma comes on. And then for the likes of Ashwin, he might bowl 20 odd overs, couldn't he? Really straight. That wouldn't necessarily surprise me. And I wouldn't be disappointed if he did that, quite frankly. Breaking news today in New Zealand. Well, it's not breaking news; it hasn't happened yet, so we're not sure. Anyone missing one more pace here? The Siraj factor may have been important. Maybe Jadeja wasn't needed, but he might come out and bat well today, so we can't say that. How many runs will India score? Well, we're hoping they go over 200. They got 217 in the first innings. If they get 217 again now, which was a disappointment for the first innings, you'll have to argue that that would mean they're 180, 185 in front. You would think India will be in trouble a little bit, and New Zealand should get that, but they can make it difficult. So India have to go better than the 217 in the first innings. If they get 249, take away 32, that's 217. So they'll need, New Zealand will need the same score that India scored in the first innings. And they damn well went close to not getting it. They were 7 for 190 on pushing for not getting more than 200 there one stage, and they survived thanks to South in a few 4s and 6s that he hits, more so 6s. England are playing Sri Lanka today too, by the way, in the T20. That is today's the 24th. And Yorkshire playing Worcestershire. Yeah. So, no, that's actually tomorrow. England are playing Sri Lanka tomorrow. So the run rate is 2.13. So if India bat front of the 40 overs, they'll only have 100 runs, which makes the 132 in front, which is not enough. So they're going to have to double that to a decent four runs and over at least. What do you think on India's batting? Did India have to promote punt and Jadeja before Pahani to get quick runs? I've talked about this with some of the learned people on air, and their idea is they're not going to change the batting order. And why would they? Especially if Punt and Jadeja go early, then we're exposing the lower middle order tail very, very soon after the start. So that's a fair point. That's a fair comment. I don't think that'll happen. I think the best venue for the World Test Championship final is at MCG. It was certainly good for the Women's World Cup earlier last year in March 8th, where they played at the MCG. Katy Perry was 85,000 was magnificent. But we can't have a game at the MCG now in June. It would be impossible because the weather would be too cold. Himanshu Sharma. Norman, do you believe that New Zealand had a beautiful batting, a beautiful after lunch yesterday, due to which early led to the 32 runs? Yeah, there was a period there where Williamson backboned the innings of Jameson, and then Southey bowled, and he did very well. And then eventually both Williamson got out, and then they led to the end of the innings. Yeah, that was an important stage. When it was 7 for 192, I'm pretty sure it was 7 for 192. If Bumrah had come on to bowl and had taken the last 3 wickets in a hell of a hurry, we would have set them all out under 200, which would give New Zealand a 17-run lead. They would be then 70 or 80 runs in front now, which would mean that they would score 230 a lot more easier tomorrow and would give more time for New Zealand to have to chase that and make it a game of it. So that may have, that 50 runs, that, well, yeah, it was 50, it was actually 92, 57 runs more that India scored with losing the last 3 wickets was pretty damn crucial. Maybe well-weathered place where they actually lost the match. Indian attack should start after negotiating first hour. Attack as in batting attack? Absolutely. I would agree. Rishabh Pant's got nothing to lose. India have got nothing to lose. Admittedly, they can lose the match, but attitudinally, they've got to approach it that way. Dr. Strange, 40 to 50 overs, 40 to 45 overs, India bat scores at 3. Gets around 160, 170. Given New Zealand's 45, 50 overs, pretty much what was it? Pretty much a safe way to have a crack at New Zealand. Yeah, 160 doesn't sound like many, to be honest. I'd go a little bit more than that. But yeah, they put pressure on them. New Zealand are pretty good batters, though. They can normally handle the pressure. Especially if they get Williamson early, if they get the openers, Conway and Latham early to some Ashwin spin with Shami at the other end, and then Williamson goes early. They lose the top 3. Taylor, Nichols, Watling, there's an element of weakness there. Then you're in the bowlers where they're going to hit their way out of it, which would be more dangerous. Then Bumrah perhaps can bowl his best and get them out. There's certainly opportunities there. There are certainly opportunities there, guys. Match protector for India. Oh, okay. Yesterday morning, first session batting by New Zealand was horrible. 0 intent and negative scoring. 34 runs in 23 overs. Wow, that was pretty slack. You're right. That was pretty poor. But then they kind of made up for it when they brought back in the likes of, Southey certainly went for it. And Williamson's backbone was certainly important to that. Yes, that's where... No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point indeed. Just looking at what the situations is. Looking for any updates in the discussions, because that's what is always crucial, is the discussions and the way that it goes. We're now looking at about another 15 minutes before play. Let's have a look here. If there's been anything said. I don't think there's been much said about it. There's no red herrings here. There's no evidence that the likes of Michael Goff and Richard Illingworth have actually said, no, we're not starting on time, or nothing like that's been transpired. So 9:30 a.m., which is now before play, which is about 9 minutes ago, the mornings were said. This is the first, I'm going to get this right. This is the first 6th day of a test since most recently the ICC Super Series game involving the World 11, but they didn't go the distance. So this is the first 6th day of a test cricket since the game in Kanpur back in 1979. So it's a fair way, fair while ago. In fact, I might even send that out in my. I'll just quickly get you to, if you want to make sure that you should connect with me via a Norm Koch. That's both my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle at Norm Koch, or of course the YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, you know what to do. Please subscribe. If any of you people that are online now, go back to the actual front page of my YouTube channel, and it'll have 18,600 whatever subscribers. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit it. They go from subscribe to subscribed, and then hit the notification button. Then come back over here and make comments. If you can all do that now, if you haven't done that now, please do that. If you haven't subscribed, please, you're online viewing now. I would love you to spend a minute to do that. So that would be great for me. Draw 90%, New Zealand 9%, 91% because it's impossible to get out. That's too dramatic, I would say. It's far too dramatic to say that. 90% draw, no, that's far too dramatic. I would still say it's around 70, and then 20 New Zealand, 10 India, not 1%. They should attack once they reach about, well, maybe 80. Well, 32 in front now, so maybe the first hour they need to be very steady. They can score 30 or 40 runs, then start to go for the second hour. They can score 80 on runs in the second hour. Then you're looking at a pretty decent total. Cole Jameson scored the most twos in the 6-ball over by Cole, who was off in Shanshana. Ross Edwards, his 5 twos off an 8-ball over. Off Jeff Arnold in Perth in 1974. Good stats. I like that. Ross Edwards was an up-order batsman for Australia. He wasn't a bad player actually in his time. So we can actually, let's have a look. I'm just going to forward that, of course. Just going to hit this. So there was a point there that we were talking about earlier. Okay. Trying to run a length possible 2 sessions. Well, we need to make it less than 2 sessions. We want it close to 1.5. Yesterday, Irani said 10 wickets. 10 wickets fell for 81 overs. Today with better batting conditions. What do you say? With better batting conditions, no, not necessarily. The pitch is weakening and wearing even more, and the bowlers will have nothing to lose. And on top of the added pressure of it being a final, so that brings all of those factors into play. So it's no point in comparing the 2 days of batting. New Zealand needs to take 5 quick wickets. The last 3 are free. Well, that's a bit hard to comment. 5 quick wickets. I don't know whether New Zealand will do that. I don't think they will do that, personally. So we're going to just have a look at something here. I was going to write a comment. Write a comment. What am I writing a comment about? Can you remember what I was going to write a comment about? Let me have a look. Okay, so the comment was around the last time they actually had a 6th day of a test, which is a relevant point to bring up. We'll just repeat that again. Okay, so all of India's fast bowlers are with tremendous skill and discipline yesterday. That's true, but the most incisive of them was Mohammad Shami. For him being the bat without finding the edge on India's last 12 wickets, he made a small but critical adjustment in his length yesterday and picked up a rousing 4 foot. So, okay. I'm just putting it. The first, okay, so I'm just going to have to, okay, where is it? The first, it actually made me write a swear word. I didn't even know. So the first, okay, the first, okay. 6th day of a test cricket since this game in Kanpur back in 1979. Me actually saying this, and I'll show you, it's quite funny. If you look there, you can see what I've written. I've written the first 6th day of the test. Hang on, I'm going to cut that off. The first 6th day of the test for the game came to Dunkin' Donuts. So it's mistakenly said that I've said Dunkin' Donuts. Where did Dunkin' Donuts come from? Dunkin' Donuts, we know, is a donut shop, but they sell rather fattening donuts, which I don't normally go to anymore, guys. Okay, the first 6th day of Test cricket since this game. It was in Kanpur. Where's Kanpur? Someone tell me where Kanpur is. Kanpur. Where is Kanpur? Back in 1979. Okay. All right. Don't you think the criticism of the ICC is unjustified? It was initially planned at Lords, but this is a difficult time and we need to acknowledge that. Kumar Avinash, I totally and utterly agree with you. The criticism level of the ICC was a bit unjustified, yes. They picked England, which is a neutral ground. Well, it's the first ground for any ICC tournaments. He played this 50-over World Cup in 1975 there with West Indies and England. They played the T20 World Cup there, and now they've played the World Test Championship, the Test World Cup. And they picked Lords. Lords being the home of cricket. Why would they play there? Of course they should play there. And then COVID permitting, it was not allowed, and they had to move somewhere else. They went to Southampton, Hampton Bowl, Ageas Bowl, Rose Bowl. They went there because, of course, that ground has a hotel complex there, Hilton Hotel attached, which is rather new. And needless to say, they thought it was the best location. Unfortunately, it's brought up the worst weather. So we can't blame them. We've got to acknowledge the fact that they've had a difficult time. They've actually made it worthwhile having. Munchie's on. Hang on. Munchie's there. Howard, I thought you were not coming. Barami, you're right. It's a factor, but there will still be swing, but not as much when there is cloud. So there won't be as much swing when there is cloud. I thought that's when cloud is when the actual swing occurs most. You're saying that it's not going to be cloudy, sunny, and therefore there'll be less swing. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Whereas, where are you situated, Baram? Baram is actually in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. He's based in Singapore. Talk about Kane's masterclass yesterday. It was absolutely pleasurable to the eyes. I'm back now. Missed the first hour. Well, in the first hour, Munchie, you missed Galton Bhattacharya and you missed Siddharth Vishwanathan. They were both fantastic. We had a very strong debate. You can watch that on replay. Now it's getting more of a question and answer time. The Kane masterclass. Barami, Munchie, I want you to comment on this too. He only scored 49, but it was the timing, the effort, the control, the poise, the ease that he scored that 49 and the backbone of the innings that he provided that allowed Jamieson, Southey go for it towards the end was pivotal. Ironically, Rahane also scored 49 when he batted. Equal scores, equally important as batsmen, you might think. But his 49 ended in a severe failure when he got suckered into playing a half pull shot straight to the newly placed fieldsman, and that led to a collapse. He was there to actually sit back and take the strike and let the other batters do the work to the very end. And his wicket led to a further some sort of collapse. All that for 217, losing 7 for 71. In the case of New Zealand, they had a kind of a collapse too. Wasn't as severe. Yeah, but they ended up getting, they were 7 for 192, which was a distinct collapse. So they started the day at 2 for 101. So they scored 192. So they scored 91 and lost 5 wickets, 5 for 9, which was not great. 7 for 192, they were in a position where they could easily have been all out for less than 200. But the New Zealand batters finished with some 57 runs for the last 3 wickets. And that 57 was very crucial because that then allowed them to go some 32 runs in front. So that was a crucial moment. Yes, Williamson was the reason for that. He was the person behind all of that. and certainly is worthy of attention and accolades for what has happened in that particular situation. There's no doubt about that at all. So the WTC comes down to the last day. India will be hoping to avoid a repeat of Christchurch in 2020. New Zealand will be hoping to produce a repeat of that if they can. The 98 overs is still a lot in these conditions. So that's an interesting comparison. But New Zealand had plenty of failures in ICC winning, in ICC tournaments in a finals makeup. And that's quite unfortunate as well. Getting close, guys. So I think as of 7 o'clock, the game will head towards the ground. We'll see them all warming up. There'll be some commentary on television. So we might also end up going on the break then too. Okay, so we have a situation there where let's have a look here further down the track. Himanshu Chaudhary, Bumrah no more the best bowler. Well, yeah, I'd say that it's somewhat of a situation which you're right. He looks like he's not at his best, at least not in this format. He's not at this stage. Barami, evolution is easier to explain than swing dynamics. Okay, I think we're getting a bit too scientific there, Munchie, but effectively, when there's clear skies above, the swing is less prominent. When there's clouds or overcast conditions, swing becomes more prominent. And that's the best way of looking at it, I guess. Himanshu Sharma says, do you think India should or should not play two spinners in the Test series against England after the final of the World Test Championship because the bowling conditions are different in England as in Australia? Good point. I don't think they'll necessarily dramatically change that. Siraj will certainly get more of a time in the bowling department. Certainly, you may see Jadeja and/or Ashwin not play on occasions. Too, I would agree with that. You may see Shardul Thakur come in. You may see Washington Sundar with his batting ability, and obviously the likes of Akshar Patel are also floating around there as well. So they're also in the chance of being promoted into the team for the sake of that series. So that is right. That is possibly where they'll head. Absolutely. Okay. You must be a millionaire. What with beer prices in Singapore, but happy to try and explain my thoughts on swing. Simon Hughes has done a lot about this explaining. Simon Hughes was and Jones. Simon Jones was the bowler who affected the most of that on Australia. Is it running in Southampton? Please tell me. No, it's not running in Southampton. You could see two spinners at Old Trafford and the Oval. Other grounds, probably only one needed. That's probably what about Lords? Don't you think Lords? Lords on occasions can be a double spinner wicket too. And India are not 120 ahead in the first session without many wickets down. It's perhaps heading for a draw. So 120 ahead. So they're 32 now. So they say another 80, 90 runs in that first session. If they get to that point, if they get to 120 and they've lost one or none wickets, then they can really go for it in the first hour of the middle session and get up to anywhere close to 200. And that would mean then that they can declare. Great position to be in. Whose captaincy impressed you more, Virat or Williamson? Well, we talked a bit about this earlier with the session that I had with Galton, Bhattacharya, and also Siddharth Viswanathan. We both agreed that it was a point in the innings where Coley made a mistake, you could argue, having not bowled Ashwin and had brought on, I think he said, Bumrah and Jadeja, and for some reason didn't allow Ashwin to keep bowling when he was relatively on top. That point was probably a bit of a problem there. Coley made his decision on only their bases and probably should have sought some advice. That was perhaps a mistake, but he can make up for it today. You'd have to argue at this point, Williamson's slightly ahead. His batting performance where he scored 49 and controlled innings very well. Certainly helped New Zealand get through a period to be actually in front on the first innings day. After the first day's play, or first batting day, which was day 2, Coley was there with Rahane and they were 3 for 146. You would argue that he was ahead on that day. So I think the efforts are slightly ahead with Williamson at the moment, but there's still a way to go where Coley could arrest that who's better on the day scenario. Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Sharma was so close for 5-wicket haul yesterday, but he took 4 wickets Wash his hands. Okay. Munchie, Simon Jones was a great exponent of reverse swing. Saying about his knee injury. Simon Hughes is the English equivalent of your biologist. Now, I realise that. I realise that they're not the same person. But I was saying, when Simon Hughes talks, he would probably bring into play Simon Jones and the effort in the 2005 2005 Ashes, where he literally was the major reason for England winning. India should declare after 1 hour after lunch with 180. If that's possible, yes. How's the pitch behaving? Quite badly, actually, sort of. The pitch is bad. There's actually performing very badly. It's all over the joint at the moment. The reality is it's balls are popping. There's a lot of balls being hit on the glove, on the head of Coley's helmet. Uneven bounce, probably low bounce. It's going to be very difficult to bat, but it's going to get even worse through the day. So even though India will struggle, India have got a lot more to play for, I would argue, in some ways. New Zealand, if they're on any form of defensive when they play, they can be matched by some very uneven bounce. And when blokes like Ashwin and Sharmi are about bowling, if they open up the attack, which it looks like they will, they'll be in a bit of trouble. New Zealand, they're going to find their wobbles through their innings. That's not about it at all. Okay, we're now reaching almost 7 o'clock, where we're starting to get more and more information from the ground. Yeah, nothing else is being said at this point. Anshuman Galton, music harmony. The only way India can win will be if they set a target of 180 with 40 overs left, and the Southampton pitch turns into an underdog pitch, giving them 2 spinners. That's possible. You just don't know. We don't know, do we? What's the difference between seam and swing in fast bowling? Well, swing is a position you cock your hand and you throw the ball with a clicking motion, and the ball takes the seam and as the seam is up bolt and it's positioned in a certain position, it'll with the assistance of a heavy air, an overcast day, ball hits the air and seam, so it sort of swings. The ball's taken and just peels off in the air. Seam bowling is when the seam of the actual stitches on the ball, the seam of the pitch hits the pitch, so the seam hits the pitch and then deviates one way or deviates the other way. So they're bouncing on the wicket, where the seam hits the wicket and moves either way. Movement in the air is swing. Movement off the ground, as in hitting the ground and moving, is seam. So seam bowling, ball hits the ground and moves a different way. That's seam. Swing bowlers in the air, it moves around. And obviously spin is where the ball is tweaked and it grips and turns. I'm not sure that's a good enough explanation, but it's a good start. Realistic thoughts, it will be a draw unless there is an Indian batting collapse, which would mean New Zealand will win. That's pretty strong words, but yeah, that may well. Let's hope it's not. Yes, driving outside, enjoying with buddies, a big pinch on our pocket. Well, that's your problem. Great question. Seam is based on movement of the pitch and swing is movement in the air. Exactly. Seam is off the movement of the pitch, swing is movement in the air. Good question. What is the price of winning? At this stage, it's $1.5 million US to win and $800,000 US to come second. If it's a draw and they share, looking at that prize money, it's 2.3. He would argue 1.15 or 1.2 million each, something like that. Swingers move in the air, semi-delivering. Yes, we've said that. Only 2 results possible: either New Zealand win or it will be a draw. What's your thoughts? 70% draw, 20% New Zealand win, 10% India win. It's more a seam bowler, whereas Jimmy is a swing bowler. That's true. Although they both do both. I've seen short broad swing the ball too. Do you think spin can get the Kiwis out in 1.5 sessions, considering the conditions they will? If everything goes to plan, they have a tight field, given no runs away and then force them to play, every possibility. What do you think should cricket will conduct in the next Olympics? Well, apparently it's at the Commonwealth Games, I believe. It's the Commonwealth Games. If it goes to the Olympic Games, it can't be a test match. It'll take forever to result. They may have to go a T20 version or even a 10-over version. I'm not sure. Seam is like spin. Well, seam is more defined. Spin can be slow or can pop up, or it can go straight as well. Daniel, a swing bowler will try to have a locked wrist, as I described, to ensure the seam is upright to get movement. So locks the wrist and flicks. Seam bowlers will have a flexible wrist to get rotation in the ball. So like that. Okay. I thought it was 1.5 million US dollars, not 1.6. Okay. And 800 for a second, I've heard that, but is it 1.6 for first, is it? Well, that's the case. It's 1.6 to 1.5 and 800. That means it will be 1.2 each if it's a draw. What do you think? What's your prediction? I've said all along I'm hoping India win. As I said, my heart says India, my head says New Zealand. I haven't contemplated the draw in my thoughts. Why? Because I don't like that. I don't want to think draw. I want both sides to be thinking win so they have a chance of winning. So again, my heart says India, my head says New Zealand, and I don't want to see any draw possible. Let's continue this match until someone takes the advantage and wins. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. It's now 7 o'clock my time, which means 11 o'clock in England. Correct? No, it's 10 o'clock. Apologies. It's 10 o'clock in the morning in England. It's 7 p.m. here. It's 9 hours difference. And in India, it's what, 2:30, correct? Okay. So we've got games starting as per program, you would hope at 10:30. So in less than half an hour now, we'll see play start. Hart always says win for India, of course. Let's hope India does win today. Who'll be the key to when you're winning? Well, the bowling department is going to be, without a doubt, it's going to be Ashwin and certainly Sharmi on form. Bumrah, you'd love to see him take a few wickets bowling very short spells. It'll be great if that is possible. Whether that'll happen is another thing. We're just past 7 o'clock, so okay. Hart will always win, yes. Okay, so let's have a look at it further. Well, I think the footmarks are already there, Anshuman and Galton. They're already there. Apparently on both the off and the leg side, off and the on side. They're both already on the pitch quite heavily. And Bumrah should take more advantage of them. What do you think about Virat Kohli's celebrator on the field? It's a gentleman-like behaviour. Well, it's very demanding, very, very forceful, but I don't know if this is really a problem. Yeah, so Tim Southee is extremely important, of course, to this day too. Let's have a look. India should go for a win, but I think it may be a draw. Yeah, that's fair enough. Shafali Sullivan, he's an enigma. I love his sportsman, but sometimes his emotion goes over the top. True. Rishabh Pant should be aggressive today. There's no doubt he should be aggressive. Shouldn't he play aggressively? Maybe not from ball one, but from some stage, yes. Hi, man. Okay. The sun is shining in Southampton. Well, that's great news. Why wasn't it shining a couple of days ago? All right. New Zealand doesn't have any spinners, which is making run scoring difficult. Yeah, for Punt it maybe a bit, but if he plays well, they're probably going to put Southee on, not Southee, sorry, Bolt on to bowl against, or even Wagner to punt. They're probably going to be a bit more difficult for punts. But he is the man. Everyone's going to change the run rate, the batting performance with India. It's going to be a Coley or a Punt or a Jadeja. No doubt. They're the people that will make the biggest difference in the whole scenario. Okay. Just looking through some of the live comments to see if there's anything going on there. Got to go, Munchie, Norman, and also I'll catch up after the match. Celebrate the Indian win. Let's hope so. I'll be on, don't worry. Especially if they win, we'll be well and short, but I'll be on either way. Okay, we're going to be going very short, I think. We'll look at live play in a minute. Let's see what live play is showing us. Live play. Let's see if I can get any live play. Now, Rishabh and Sujaita can change all the scenarios. Yep, they certainly can. Norman, are you working on Sydney Morning Herald? No, I'm not. Munchie says, see you, mates there. India Talons are absolutely disappointing. They got some batting practice. Okay, yeah, that's true. The Wallabies for the win? Well, maybe they will be. Freddie Thomas, is it going to be a dull draw or an nail-biting finish? I think the latter. I hope so. Eni should target Bolt and Wagner and play cautiously with Jameson and Southey. It's a fair summation there. Carol along. Personally, I love some healthy sledging on the field. It heats up the atmosphere, and we get more emotional. That's what the wrist shot pump when he goes out there. You can say to New Zealand, oh, how many times have you won the ICC final? We've lost a few. We haven't lost them. How could you lose a time? What was wrong with you? That sort of play could certainly have an effect on most people. Too many rules in cricket should be made more easy to understand. It sounds like a tax system in Australia to me. That should be made a lot easier to understand. Shapali today, no, Shapali's already been on the other day. She can't come every day. This is not a day when she should be on. I haven't asked her. And she has her class to do what she gets paid money for. So that's important for her as well. Well, it's now 7:05. We'll be looking at a finish before too long, guys. We're going to take some more questions. We've probably got another 10 minutes to go, I reckon, before we'll finish up. Do you think the New Zealand team would beat Australia? Yes. Absolutely, yes. Maybe not Australia for some reason. I don't know why I'm saying that, but they would beat them here for sure. Shafali Sultana played the game for 35 years. I just about understand now that they keep changing him. Okay. Who's your favourite Bollywood actor? Me. Shah Rukh Khan. I like Deepika Padukone, which is very good too. Aishwarya Rai, I like her. Then the father-son combination, what's the name again? Bhattacharya Rai. Yep. Moose and Ali, okay, and which one? They're together, aren't they? They've got their own show, I believe. I've seen other people have them on. I think Gil had them on. Kesha had them on. I'll see if they're interested. Although they do normally speak, I'm not sure how good, I don't know, and I can't be commenting on how good their English actually is. If their English is not much good, well, then it'll be hard to get on. So it's 7. It's now, we've got 23 minutes before the game starts, guys. 23 minutes before the game starts. Any last questions, guys? 6:28. And 7 minutes. Okay, so we're going to the 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. I hope there's drama today. We'll see you after the match. Okay. Amelia Moore, I'll be here after the match. See you then. Which bowling form was more impressive, Jameson or Sharmy? You'd have to say Jameson slightly, but Sharmy certainly made up for it. If he got a 5, then it would have been equal. What do you think of England versus Sri Lanka T20? England will murder them. What is your rank on the Fab 5 according to you? Okay. Including Baba Azam. At this moment in time, they say Williams, Coley, Baba Azam, Root, Smith. Can Coley make a century today? Well, if he does, he's going to eat up a lot of time, and he has to do it very, very fast because they won't have enough time to play that type of innings. Can India win? Of course they can. Ashwin will be the game changer. He certainly will be. Absolutely, I agree with both sets of comments there. People are having a problem with the venue selection. It was always at Lords. Would you complain if it was at Lords? I'd hope not. That's the best ground in the world. And they only did that because of COVID. Otherwise, they would have played it at Lords. If they didn't play it at Lords and they had to move it, that would have probably had to, even postpone the game, maybe. ICC agreed. ICC agreed. I agreed. ICC agreed. Jupiter Rule says has no limits. They wanted to make more money between 6 and 11 p.m. That's why they don't start at 9 a.m. Oh, it's a hard one. Anshaman Galton. February 4 is just for Test cricket, right? February 4. February 4. What's February 4? Is that Valentine's on February 14th? I don't know what next is February the 4th is. Fab 4, sorry. Fab, I saw Feb as in the month Feb. Fab 4 is just for Test cricket, right? The Fab 4, I mean bowling lineup. I'd probably say so, if that's what you're talking about. What target should they set New Zealand to win? Is the question we just got there. 180 to 200. Please make it with Cow Corner with Chandresh. I know Chandresh personally, actually, and he's been on the show with Extra Time. I'll get to talk to him, see what he's got to say. Very good. obviously an ICC media man. Hampshire bowler said, every time New Zealand have one fresh pacer to bowl, keep pressuring it. Oh, that's true. Fab 4 is not Fab 4. No, okay, I didn't read it. Batting Fab 4. It's actually Fab 5. If you include Buzzer Azam, you have to include him now. Bubba Azam. Yeah. Bubba Azam, Root, Coley, Williamson, and Smith. Will Virat Kohli score a century? It'll be a miracle, not because he's not capable, it's just not enough time. He'd have to go nuts and score a century. Doug Walters, as we all know, was a man who used to score centuries in a session. It's not impossible. Love to see that happen. Why is Nathan Lyon called GOAT? What does that mean? Greatest of all time. In terms of off-spinner for Australia. Okay, he's taken more wickets than the other off-spinner in Australia. In fact, is he the best potential off-spinner? Harbhajan Singh might be beating him already. But he's up there, certainly. Go best in Australia anyway. Best off-spinner ever in Australia. Cricket legends, who will you back as the leading run scorer and wicket taker in the match? Well, this stage is Conway for the batting. If Coley gets a 54, I think it's more than that one, and it could help them win the match. It's great. And the leading wicket taker, well, at this point, it's going to be a split between Jameson, Sharmi, or maybe Southie. Or Ashwin if he takes a bucket load in the last innings. Lords is beautiful. I've been to Eden Gardens, pre-development, SCG and MCG, but there is something about a ground that's been there for 200 years, namely Lords. Correct. SCG is not far behind. If we were talking just about Test cricket, my rankings will be Smith, Virat, Williamson. Williamson fourth? No. Smith first? No. My ranking from first would be Williamson now at first, Virat second, Root third, and Smith fourth, actually, other way around. We're waiting for Lyon to take his 400th wicket, yep. Now, in terms of test venues, I've been to over 100 in the world. I've been to a lot of them. So I'm pretty proud of that situation. Well, what will be the game changer? Well, I'm not backing on it at this moment. Once she's called the home of cricket for a reason, correct. So let's have a look here. Got a few minutes to go, guys. So if India, in case loses today, will they be regarded as the chokers? No. Will we be the game? No, I doubt that India will be seen as chokers. Smith has to be first in Test, Norman. Wilson has excellent numbers at home, struggles outside. Average just checks test. I'm talking about right now. Williamson's in the Test final. He's batting the best. That makes him best as far as I'm concerned. Smith didn't even make it yet. New Zealand need 180 and 40 overs. I think they should go for it. We'll make it interesting. Absolutely. How many overs a bowl? Yesterday was 81, I think it was. It wasn't the 98. Cricket legend, it's the tradition there as well. You'll get no music and no noise from the Barmy Army. How can you say Smith number 4? Absolutely not fair. Well, the form that's shown, Williamson's made the final of the team. He's the captain. He's the best batter. And if he wins, he's number 1. Coley is here. He'll be either 1 or 2. He'll be 2. Root went close. He's 3. And 4th is Smith is 4th. Other way around, perhaps, but I would say Smith at the moment at 4. Are you working under the Star Sports and Sony? No, I'm not working under those. No. Does the match start at the schedule? Absolutely. It'll be starting in now a matter of, let's have a look, 16 minutes. If Russian bats for a long time, they have a chance of winning. Yep, good chance. I want to see Jameson South open to go berserk. If they fail, they can draw it. Yeah, should be 2 days of reserve day. Well, we can't talk about it anymore because it's not going to happen. Just because of the sandpaper incident, you can't look down. He has dominated everywhere else. No, I'm afraid that has a large part to play. He was captain of the country. They used sandpaper. Wrong. Banned. Should be penalised for that. Full stop. No excuses. My dream is to visit Lords one day. Oh, it's a great ground. I'm lucky enough to be there as well as Munchie. Will there be more spin offered than used to? So you would hope so. Any chance of you commentating in the future, Norman? Oh, I've got some interest with Sky News Australia. Yes, Indonesia Pujara and Coley to bat for long and punt to bat fast for win. Yes, absolutely. Smith is compared to Sir Bradman for a reason. Other two formats, I won't even consider Smith. Well, then you're considering the batsman for all formats. Smith has got a batting average of 60. Okay, he's done well. I'm not denying that. But Williamson, at the moment, his team is in the Test final, and he's there, and he scored a 49 when they really needed it. That adds weight. I'm sorry. Smith's lost his mantle somewhat, in my opinion. Has to earn it back. Especially Test captaincy. Buckley's getting back to that position again, I'm pretty sure. All right, we've got 15 minutes to go, guys. We're getting nice and close. See if there's any more commentary here. Coley would win it for India. Let's hope he does. Munchie had a friend from South Singapore visit in 2018. He was desperate to watch India there. He paid a crazy ticket tout price for a ticket. That's what cricket fanatics do, correct? I'm not talking about Smith the captain or the leader or even the human being, just talking about Smith in the Test battle. I can't distinguish the two. I still don't think he deserves to be first. Williamson does. Why Virat Kohli's not sledging? Yeah, I'm sure there's a bit of sledging on. I don't know why, but it's more evident from punt. Smith has done well for sure, but the sandpaper incident won't be forgotten. And why should it be? It was bad. He'll win for India. I think he will. Why Virat Kohli? Okay. Only 6 tests have been a lower expected balls per wicket than this. None of the 6 have seen a high actual BP batsman surviving the bowling than this one. This is stupidly high quality cricket. It certainly is. Unless it is funny, then no sledging. Do you think India will be the best team regardless of the result? Technically, you can't say that. They don't win. They have to win to make that conclusive. And that was probably the whole idea of this, was to say that. Let's have a look here. Hard-nosed cricket to me is a far greater thing than romance and making a match of it. Hard-nosed cricket is some very solid match of cricket, I love to say. Coley has been sledged. He sledged Latham in the 4th over when Moore was Richards. Okay. Please make an interview with Sir Richards. Well, I've made plenty of interviews with his brother, Mervyn Richards. If you go back and look through the records, on Bora, I have a lot of interviews where a lot of long discussions with Merv Richards, Viv's brother. Do you endorse sledging in cricket? Yes. Shabi Shankar. Yes, they are top of the current Test league. Who are we talking about? Yes. India. Okay. What are your thoughts on New Zealand only playing 11 matches, which is less than top 8? Yeah, it's a bit shaky, but that's not their fault. They've been dealt the cards and they've played it and they've got through the point that if they win, they win. That's really the sum total of it, guys. All right, so what are we looking at here? All right, guys. Last few questions. Sledging is fine as long as it's done, not getting asked. Yeah. Can India make New Zealand all out in one session? You never know. Going by the previous point system, it would have been a final between India and England. Okay. Banter was great, but it's in the right spirit. Yeah. But saying if Rishabh punts behind the wicket and he says to Williamson, "Oh, how about in the last World Cup? What happened? You drew? You won? Or did you win? No, you drew, or you had a tie, but you lost. How did you do that?" Playing on those thoughts, that's a bit of cheekiness, rather than it's true. They will play on their mind. It's going to definitely play on the mind of New Zealand, the fact they lost. Well, maybe it may steal them and they're doing well. Let's wait and see. Okay, at this point, we're very close to a start. We've got some 10 minutes to play. I'm just looking at trying to find out what we have there. If we have any. Okay. I'll give it a couple more minutes, guys, some more questions. New Zealand did not even win an overseas series in that WTC side. They don't probably deserve to be in the final. Australia and England were better. Your thoughts? I'm afraid not. This is the way the cards have been dealt. This is what happens. This is the result. Should India go for a win given the high stakes? Yes, I think they should. Yes, final should have been in India versus England, in my opinion. Yeah, it's the way it's been. These are the cards dealt. You can't know Sargraves. 36 for 9. Can we see it repeating? Bring Hazelwood and Cummins. What, into the Indian lineup? Interesting. They're going to become marry some Indian women. Why is Virat Kohli so good? He's just he always tries to improve himself. Virat Kohli always strives to improve himself. And that's a mark of the man. New Zealand gets 120 points for 2 wins, whereas to get the same number of points to India, England, Australia have to win 4 or 5. I don't know the logic in that, but that's the way it was. They were aware of those conditions. They're playing towards it. They can't worry about that. I feel Australia should have played a test versus England to be in the final against India, in my opinion. But it's what it is. It is what it is. That's the best statement so far. It is what it is. And on top of that, you dealt the cards you play, you are to react within them, and there's no excuses. Okay. All right. India will win. Okay, let's hope that day happens. All right, guys, I've said earlier, so your family. What about my family? So, for those that are joining us who are new or seeing us, how old am I? I'm old enough. I have a son, 24, 25. So, as far as I'm concerned, for you to help me make this channel grow, you view, like, and share the posts. You go about hitting the subscribe button. If you're on this list now, people are viewing haven't done so. Log in if you haven't logged in. Subscribe. Hit subscribe to a subscribed, and then hit the notification button, and then you're done. You're in. You've then helped the channel grow. And I want you to tell your groups, your friends, through WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, even the likes of your, your email groups, your work groups. Tell them all, please. I don't want to go into this. It's far too late to be talking about the point system. I didn't get it either. There may be a better system in the future. Coley's a big match player. It doesn't get bigger than the ultimate test. Cometh the hour, cometh Virat. Totally agree. You can tell it's warmer today. Ishigua is wearing a lighter coat today. Interesting how you notice that much. You've already subscribed. Good. How do I become a member? There's a button called Join. Next to subscribe, there's a button called Join. You hit that and you go through the process. And wait, that'd be great. You can get more interaction with us. Have dinners and lunches in the future. We'll be doing that as time goes on. You should collab with people like Akash Chopra, who I know Akash Chopra. Throughout the test a couple of years ago, he was in my car every morning getting a juice and having a good chat on the way to the cricket. He has a big following, yes, but he's a nice bloke. But he does speak in Hindi, which is the downfall for me. How do I become a member, Norm? I've just told you. Please listen. So you got subscribe. There's also a little button called Join. It's on the front screen called Join. You click on that, it'll take you through the steps of where you want to be. So I have one question. Do you think? Shout out. Okay. Shout out. I'm shouting out to you. Pitch is still looking good. Some foot muscle, the wicket is not crumbling. It is more chance of winning the World Test final. It does. It is ability for grip and turn. Absolutely. All right, guys. What time is it now? Let's have a look at it's 7 minutes to go. I think if I don't get any more questions, we'll end it there. Let's have a look. See what the Foxtel says. Just looking at the Foxtel for a minute. I see you take some stupid decision. No, I don't believe that. So please take my name, Vivekanand Tiwari. The next target, India, England series, and will be hopefully win to India. That'll be intriguing. We'll be on that. I'll be on the program for that. We'll have regular updates. We'll have a lot more English guests there. The Simon Willises, the Chris Vernons, the hopefully Molly Panser, Adam Hollyoak, and even people like Alan Mullally. Let's have a look what's going on here. All right, guys. I think it's time to go. The pitch report, which we've said, is there are large footmarks on both the off and on sides of the field, of the pitch. Uneven bounce, some low bounce, some unpredictable bouncing, higher bounce, and ultimately there'll be a lot more movement off the wicket and probably less seam. Sorry, more seam and less swing. And will suit spin as well. Tsunami Mandela shed a load of white ball cricket before then, but can't wait. Do you know Srishant, the cricketer? No, not personally. Looking forward to Chris. Okay, Chris will be back. He's always been great. The original trio were great. You talking about Simon, me, and Chris? Yeah, we had Munchie on the sidelines as well. Chris, you were pretty. Okay. We'll see how we go with how we'll get everybody back together. They'll be back together at some stage or another. All right, now let's have a look here. We've got time permitting. I can see the warm-up. There's some great graphics going on. Certainly some great graphics going on. We've got a pretty good hour. All right, guys. So view, like, and share the posts. Make sure you subscribe, become a member by joining. That'd be great. Then hit the so-called notification button, hit the little bell, and then go about sharing it to your WhatsApp groups, your Facebook Messenger, and of course your email services, and we'll go from there. So I was there from the start, Norm. Great. I'm really happy that you are. So Munchie's quite attractive too, yes. Do the players get entire money from IPL auction? No, there's no money. In fact, there's a bit left over as far as I'm aware. All right, so let's go, guys. We'll leave it at that. Okay, I can see the ground showing up there. It looks bright and sunny. You can see the ground there. You can see the new Hilton Hotel at one end. And here we are. We're about on TV now. So, guys, go and watch TV. I'm sure you are Munchie, but be really pretty. Okay. All right, guys. All the best, guys. Take care. This is Norman Koshnick for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnick with Steve Warburg behind me. View, like, and share, subscribe, and obviously notify yourself of events and share, make this channel grow. Lots of love from India. Thank you, guys. All the best.